Why can one stupid comment ruin your whole evening? Not because the comment matters, usually it does not, but because online arguments are not really about ideas anymore. They are about identity. That is why arguing online feels so exhausting. You think you are entering a conversation, but most of the time, you are entering a performance. There is an audience, there are sides, there is a winner, there is a loser, and everyone is watching for the moment someone gets humiliated. We have more debate than ever, on YouTube, on X, in comments, on podcasts, in live streams, in group chats. Everywhere you look, someone is explaining why someone else is wrong. But somehow, with all this debate, it does not feel like we are getting closer to the truth. It feels like we are getting better at performing certainty. That is the strange part. Everyone can speak now, but almost nobody listens. The internet gave everyone a voice, and the result was not wisdom, it was noise. More opinions, more reactions, more clips, more people destroying each other, more people exposing each other, more people debunking things they barely understand. And after all of that, what actually changes? Usually nothing. The atheist stays atheist. The believer stays a believer. The left-wing person stays left-wing. The right-wing person stays right-wing. The audience cheers for the side they already agreed with, and everyone leaves feeling more correct than before. So maybe online debate is not really about changing minds. Maybe it is about protecting identity. That is the thought I keep coming back to. Because a real conversation requires risk. You have to risk being wrong. You have to risk hearing something that disturbs you. You have to risk changing your mind. But online debate usually does the opposite. It gives people a safe way to feel brave without risking anything. You sit behind a screen. You cheer for your side. You laugh at the other side. You share the clip where your person wins. And for a moment, it feels like truth has happened. But maybe it was only entertainment. This is not a new problem. Plato was already worried about this more than 2,000 years ago. He saw people who were very good at speaking, very good at persuading, very good at winning crowds. But they were not necessarily wise. They were sophists. A sophist could make an argument sound strong, even if it was empty. And honestly, that sounds very familiar. Because a lot of modern debate rewards the same thing. Confidence, speed, style, aggression. The perfect comeback, the perfect clip, the perfect moment where someone looks stupid. But wisdom is slower than that. Truth is slower than that. A real question does not always fit into a viral moment. And this is why I think online debate is often closer to theater than philosophy. It has roles. It has heroes and villains. It has emotional payoff. It has winners and losers. But it rarely has understanding. The system rewards conflict. And this is where the system becomes important. Because platforms do not reward the person who thinks most carefully. They reward the person who keeps you watching. Conflict keeps you watching. Anger keeps you watching. Humiliation keeps you watching. Certainty keeps you watching. A video titled, "Two People Slowly Refine Each Other's Ideas," will not travel as far as a video titled, "He Destroyed Her Argument in 30 Seconds." That alone explains a lot. The system does not need people to understand each other. It needs people to react. And when the system rewards reaction, people adapt to it. They become sharper, louder, faster, more certain, more extreme. Not necessarily because they are becoming wiser, but because they are learning what gets attention. If you spend enough time arguing to win, you start forgetting how to think without fighting. You stop listening. You start waiting. Waiting for the mistake. Waiting for the weak sentence. Waiting for the moment you can attack. And once that becomes your habit, every conversation starts to feel like combat. That is not intelligence. That is exhaustion. Nietzsche probably would not be surprised by any of this. He did not see human beings as neutral truth machines. He understood that a lot of what we call reason is mixed with instinct, pride, resentment, fear, status, and desire. We like to imagine that we believe things because they are true, but often we believe things because they protect something in us. Our identity. Our place in a group. Our sense of being morally correct. Our need to feel superior. So when someone challenges our opinion, it does not feel like they are only challenging an idea. It feels like they are challenging us. That is why people get so angry. Not because every argument matters, but because every argument starts to feel personal. And the internet makes this worse. Because online, your opinion becomes part of your public identity. Your profile. Your followers. Your history. Your side. Changing your mind becomes expensive. If you admit the other person has a point, it can feel like weakness. If you soften your position, your own side may punish you. So people do what the platform teaches them to do. They double down. They simplify. They perform strength. They become more certain than they really are. And maybe that is why online debate feels so dead. Not because people are incapable of reason, but because the environment punishes the conditions that reason needs. Patience, humility, trust, shared language, shared standards, a willingness to lose face, a willingness to say, maybe I was wrong. Without those things, debate becomes noise. And this is where many arguments fail before they even begin. Two people can use the same word and mean completely different things. Freedom, justice, truth, God, science, progress, morality. Everyone uses the vocabulary, but the foundations underneath are different. One person thinks truth is objective. Another thinks truth is shaped by power. One person thinks human nature is fallen. Another thinks human nature is mostly good but damaged by society. One person believes tradition carries wisdom. Another sees tradition mainly as oppression. So when they debate, they are not really disagreeing about one issue. They are standing on different worlds and shouting across the gap. That is why so many debates feel circular. They never reach the root. They stay on the surface. The argument is about politics, or religion, or gender, or technology. But underneath, the real disagreement is about reality itself. What is a person? What is truth? What is good? What is sacred? What is worth preserving? If people do not share at least some basic answers to those questions, debate becomes much harder than we pretend. Not always useless, but much harder. And this is where I think we need to make a distinction. Conversation is not the same as debate. Conversation can be open. It can be slow. It can allow silence. It can allow uncertainty. It does not need a winner. Debate usually does, at least online. Online debate wants a result, a score, a clip, a verdict. Someone must win. Someone must lose. Someone must look foolish. And once that is the structure, truth becomes secondary. So maybe the better question is not, how do I win more arguments? Maybe the better question is, which arguments are actually worth having? Because not every disagreement deserves your attention. Not every stranger deserves your energy. Not every comment requires a reply. This is something I think people forget. You do not have to argue with everyone. You do not have to correct every bad take. You do not have to enter every room where people are shouting. Sometimes the most intelligent move is not to respond. Not because you are afraid, but because the conversation is not real. If the other person is not listening, there is no dialogue. If the audience only wants blood, there is no inquiry. If the platform rewards conflict, there is no reason to expect wisdom. That does not mean disagreement is bad. Disagreement can sharpen us. It can reveal what we missed. It can force us to think better. But only when both people are actually trying to see something more clearly. And maybe that should be rare. Maybe real conversation belongs in smaller spaces, with people who have enough trust to be honest. People who can challenge you without humiliating you. People who are not performing intelligence for an audience. People who care more about the question than about winning. Because if the goal is truth, you need a different atmosphere. Less theater, less ego, less speed, less addiction to being right, and more seriousness, more patience, more humility, more willingness to be changed. That is what online debate usually lacks. It has energy, it has drama, it has entertainment, but it rarely has the quiet conditions where real thought can happen. So maybe the problem is not that debate is dead. Maybe the problem is that we keep mistaking performance for debate. We keep mistaking reaction for thought. We keep mistaking confidence for wisdom. And we keep mistaking attention for importance. The internet did not destroy truth by making people argue. It made argument cheap. It made performance profitable. It made certainty attractive. And it made silence feel like defeat. But silence is not always defeat. Sometimes silence is discipline. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. Sometimes refusing to argue is the only way to protect your attention. And maybe that is what we need more of now. Not more debates, not more clips, Not more people trying to win comment sections, but better conversations. Smaller conversations. Slower conversations. Conversations with people who are actually capable of listening. Because if someone only wants to perform, there is nothing to discuss. And if someone only wants to win, then truth was never the point. So maybe the real skill today is not learning how to argue better. Maybe it is learning when not to argue at all.